This is Jonathan Agoff here for Pro Boxing Fans. We're here in Edinburgh, the announcement of Josh Taylor, Jack Catterall, February 26th for the undisputed Super Lightweight Championship of the World. With me is trainer Ben Davison. Ben, how are you?
All good, thanks. You?
Not bad, not bad. Just want to take you back to Vegas. I know you've just come back from there, but that night in May, when Josh was announced as undisputed champion, what was going through your head?
Yeah, you know, when they first said 114, I was like, what? And then obviously the decision coming up, you know, ecstatic, absolutely ecstatic. You know, a dream. To be honest with you, I say a dream for all fighters. Most fighters probably can't even dream of becoming undisputed champion. So for Josh to have achieved it, you know, an amazing experience and an honour to have helped him to do so.
Where does that rank amongst all your achievements?
Do you know what? I often get asked questions about where, you know, what means most, blah blah blah. But I honestly, they're all sort of separate, to be honest, because, you know, for me, I don't do this job with the mindset of I want to achieve this, I want to achieve that. My whole mindset is I want to help each fighter achieve their maximum potential. So in terms of for Josh so far, of course, you know, it's the absolute pinnacle of the sport. There's no more. Boxing completed it, mate. But again, you know, for Tyson to have been able to do what he done in his comeback, absolutely phenomenal achievement. For Billy Joe to become a two-weight world champion, again, most people can't even dream of that. So Leigh Wood, you know, to have become a world champion, I'm sure that, you know, there was a period of time where he didn't believe that he'd be able to do so. So yeah, they're all in their own basket.
As a trainer, did you enjoy the challenge of going up against Robert Garcia and now likewise against Jamie Moore and Nigel Travis?
Yeah, of course. It's, you know, you have to prepare for what you think they're going to look at in your fighter and where they're going to try and see weaknesses. And every fighter's got weaknesses, so it's important that we recognise those. And prepare to make sure they're not able to do so, and in fact try and use the tactics that they will try to employ, try and use them against them.
Josh made a point in the press conference, I'm not looking past Jack Catterall, forget asking me about other names. How significant is that going into this fight? Yeah,
and I've been in that situation before where, you know, so before Tyson fought Otto Wallin, there was, you know, everybody knew that the Deontay Wilder rematch was going to come. To be honest with you, they was trying to force him to sign the fight before that fight took place. As much as you try and keep your mind on the task at hand, you know, part of your mind may be looking past that. So it's important that, you know, no other names are mentioned. Life does not exist February 27th. There is nothing more important than February 26th. So that's all that matters.
It was all respectful up there in both the face-offs, but when Josh is in fight mode, he flicks the switch. We saw it against Ramirez, we've seen it against Prograis, other fights. When do you notice that change from Josh?
Yeah, look, by the time fight week comes, it's going to be a different story. Of course, got respect for Jack, respect his skill sets and humble in preparation, but the reality of it is, you know, they're going in there. You know, this is the pinnacle of the sport. There is no more you can achieve. So when they go up in the air, it's Josh's job to make sure that they come home, and he'll fight tooth and nail to make sure that happens.
Absolutely. Roll on February 26th. Ben, obviously you've just come back from Las Vegas. Want to touch on Devin Haney beating Joseph Diaz, defending his WBC lightweight title. What did you make of his performance?
Yeah, it was a solid performance. Something that I love about Devin is, you know, right at the end of the fight, I knew it was a wide points victory, but I knew instantly he wasn't happy with his performance. But that mentality is the type of mentality you have to perform to become a pound for pound number one, and that's the potential that I believe Devin's got.
He made a point of thanking yourself and Lee Wiley and everyone at MTK Performance Centre. Do those comments mean a lot to you, to get that sort of respect and praise from him?
Yeah, look, you know, Devin's the type of fighter that I can have a personal conversation with, and I know that he really appreciates the work that we put in. And the quality of work that we bring. However, the most important thing is that, you know, he wants to work on himself. He's critical of himself, wants to be critiqued. First thing after the fight, as we was having a debrief, was, you know, as soon as you guys can do a breakdown and let me know where I went right, let me know where I went wrong. Those are the things that mean a lot to me, because then I know that they're hungry to keep learning, and that, you know, the work and time that we're putting in together, and the hours that we put in is going to be worthwhile.
Just off the fight, I mean, people know that Devin is one of, if not the best natural boxers in that division in terms of technical ability and IQ, but one criticism or one thing people were concerned about is going to, fight guys like Tank and Ryan Garcia, people questioning whether he has the power against those guys, and on the contrary, people are saying if he goes up to 140, his power will develop more. What's your take on both those points?
He's only just turned 23 years old. I take him on the pads. I've took a number of world champions on the pads, all different levels of fighters on the pads. He can punch. He's got pop. However, the reality is he's so sharp that a lot of people are, wary of letting their hands go. The more people come to win, the more they're willing to let their hands go, the more chance of that coming. But it takes time, and that's something that, being honest, we worked on, was that if fighters aren't letting their hands go and eventually settle to, I might get beat here, it's part of the job to be able to break these guys down, and that's something that we're working on, where power becomes not as important, but knowing how to continually be consistent in the quality of work to break these guys down and get those stoppages.
Obviously, people talking about a potential fight with George Kambosos for all the belts next. How do you see it stylistically at this early stage?
I hadn't looked at it, as we were saying, there was all this talk about Kambosos before the Diaz fight, full focus on Jojo Diaz, and the same here, it's exactly the same situation. All the talk with Josh is what's he going to do next, but full focus on Jack Catterall. So now that fight's done, we'll start to have a look at Kambosos and go from there, but until then it was full focus on Jojo Diaz.
Appreciate that. Ben, just a few more on your stable. Leigh Wood, I saw you tweet you want him to become super champion with the WBA. We're all waiting on this news about Michael Conlan. That's a big fight. It's
a big fight. I think it'd be the right thing to do. I think that, Leo Santa Cruz jumped up 2 weight classes and got knocked out. He's a fantastic fighter, but how can he still be a world champion and not defended in how long? I couldn't tell you. Could you tell us the last time he defended that title?
Couldn't.
It's ludicrous. So, surely I imagine that. The WBA will upgrade Leigh Wood, and that fight against Mick Conlan will be for the WBA Super World title.
Shabazz Massoud picked up a solid win the other day. What's next for him?
That was a good step-up fight and a fantastic performance. He really showed his levels there in a huge step-up fight for him. So, there's big fights and titles to be gained from that. We tried to get a title on the line for that fight. However, Shabazz had never boxed an 8-rounder, so he wasn't able to get sanctioned. So, with that win there, we'll be looking to get Shabazz some titles behind him. It's been hard to get him a domestic opponent. I understand why these domestic fighters don't want to fight Shabazz. So, if he has to bypass the domestic scene, then that'll be the case. But that's the next goal, is to get Shabazz some titles behind him.
Obviously, you've got a few busy week coming up. Leigh McGregor's out, and Mark Dickinson as well. All right, saying that?
Yeah, Mark Dickinson's out, so in his second fight, it'd be nice to see Mark get a few rounds. One of the best prospects in world boxing, so it'd be nice to see him get a few rounds and move him on to some 8-rounders after that.
Have you seen Leigh progress in the last year? He kind of shocked everyone with that such a quick win to win the European title. Did he get good sparring out in Vegas whilst you were there?
Yeah, he got some good sparring over in Vegas. Lee's had a few issues at home as well, so he flew back. Had a serious injury in the family, so he flew back a little bit earlier. But he got in some good work. As you say, a fantastic win earlier on in the year against Gurfey, then a nice defence at the European title. And there's some big fights looming for Leigh as well, so yeah, interesting.
Then just 2 quick ones. Canelo moving up to cruiserweight to face Ilunga Makabu. What's your thoughts?
I haven't really had a look at it too much, but definitely interesting. Makabu cruiserweight, he'd be a thick-set guy. He can punch, and as they say, no matter how old they get, the last thing to go on a fighter is their punch. But Canelo has probably got the best IQ in boxing at the moment, pound for pound #1, and it's a great opportunity for him to show that.
And finally, we don't know what's going on in the heavyweight division at the moment. All these rumours swirling around about step aside and everything else. But people are talking about, potential fight. It's going to probably happen eventually between Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk. What do you make of that as a stylistic matchup if you work with Tyson?
It'd be interesting to see how Tyson decides to go about the fight. I think that he may look to try and press Usyk, but you know, you've got to be smart in applying pressure to Usyk, otherwise he'll use that pressure against you. So it'd be interesting to see how he goes about that fight. He's so versatile, Tyson. So that'll be the key thing I'll be looking out for is an interest in how Tyson approaches that fight.
Has Usyk surprised you at heavyweight at all?
Not overly, no. I thought that he'd have some success against Joshua. I did believe that Joshua would go the wrong way about the fight. However, I did believe that eventually Joshua would make an adjustment and end up taking over the fight. But Joshua didn't make an adjustment throughout the fight, and Usyk went about it quite as I expected. Joshua went about it how I expected him to at the beginning, but as I say, I expected him to make an adjustment and he just didn't show it.
Ben, appreciate your time. Thanks for talking to Pro Boxing Fans.
No problem. Thanks, mate.